From Bossier City, Louisiana, we're at Rule 62 Studios, and this is The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Season 2, episode
7,000. I don't know.
Season 2, episode 7, I believe is what
You look at me like I'm supposed to guess. So
well, no, like, it's the only bit of research you have to do between recording.
And I've never done it.
He doesn't listen to the podcast.
I don't.
I'm Mike.
There's a guy on there I don't like. So.
I'm joined here today with Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
Hey.
And our friend Larry.
Hello.
And his lovely bride, Judy.
Hello. Welcome.
Special guest. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Special. Well, you were the special guest.
Well, that's a different kind of special.
Kind of like the guy from Office Space. We just never told you.
I wear a helmet. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. You probably just pissed off a lot of folks. So that's okay. He really does wear a helmet when he's on his motorcycle. So, Jill, before we get started, I noticed you put up a couple pictures of the pigs on Instagram.
Yes.
And
Well, I mean,
not the one you just showed us with the banana hammock.
No. Well, Chunk and Bud, it wasn't probably their favorite day. Yeah, they got castrated.
Oh, the old castration.
Yeah. Well, I took them to the vet. I got a really good deal. And gosh, I mean, they were fine 30 minutes later. I fed them some pureed pumpkin, and they loved it.
Yeah, nothing soothes the fact you just lost your manhood like a can of pureed pumpkin.
Well, they were getting a little, Chunk can get a little aggressive. Are you crying? Are your eyes watering?
You know, I'm going
He
to be
can get
honest.
a little aggressive?
Well, that's
Just
what,
a little? When that happened to Matt, he was out of sorts for a month.
Here's my deal. What they charge for a castration?
Well, let me tell you
on an
something.
animal?
I did some research and I called a lot of vets, and it was from around like
Now, these are
300.
veterinarians, not veterans, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Anywhere from 300 to 600 a pig.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy.
I know a couple chicks that do that for free.
Well, and
No charge.
I was thinking about doing it myself. I mean, it's very typical in farms that they do it themselves.
Yeah.
And but they're a little bit bigger. I mean, they're only like 4 or 5 months. But I went to a vet, and it. God bless.
Yeah.
I never want to sit in on that again.
Yeah.
Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
I understand. Oof.
I mean, they thrashed. Ooh.
How much? Yeah, they thrashed.
I'm sorry, that's horrible. Did I say that?
Did you expect them to smile and start smoking a cigarette? Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Can we have some pumpkin now?
But
The vet said it's actually worse for them.
Really?
Yeah.
What
what's
is?
worse?
Sedation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't see a.
But anyway, it's a very quick, like 10-second,
Yeah.
15-second process.
Yeah.
It's very simple, and
Yeah.
And
We watched the video. I watched the video you had sent me. I'm sure it's similar, huh?
oh yeah, absolutely. But I just wanted to be, he gave him some antibiotics and some stuff, and I just wanted a professional to do
Nice.
it, and I'm glad I did.
How much was it?
He only charged me $50 a pig, but he was our family vet for all of our horses for like 20 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's more up my alley. I can afford that.
Well, I get it. I mean, that's
And you couldn't just let them go.
They
like were.
have so pigs have so
Nature.
the bacon tastes a little different whenever they grow up with their cojones.
I'm just curious.
They
I don't know.
have some behaviors that are just not so
I've done it with cattle. I know on cattle. I just didn't know on pigs.
becoming, and they get aggressive. They smell, and there's something else I just probably shouldn't mention on air.
Well,
Okay.
that is a great segue into our topic. They get
Castration.
aggressive, they smell, and other things I should not say on the air. that I can't think of anything better. Of course, we're talking about pigs. So what I was thinking, and I've been thinking about this for a few days. And in our last episode, Lisa sat in for Jill, and thank you very much, Lisa. But we talked about a couple of topics, and the third topic I never got to was live and let live, right? A slogan that obviously doesn't just affect alcoholics. It can't. It's helpful for anyone to learn to live and let live. I know that having expectations of certain people and them not fulfilling them expectations, or, even things or institutions, like the IRS, you expect them to be really nice when you get them on the phone, and, 6 months after you get them on the phone, they put you on hold and don't come back until they show up at your house. But expectations of people and learning to live and let live. And, I have children. Matt's got more than I have.
That I know of, yeah.
So it might be time to visit the pig doctor.
Yeah. Pretty much.
But I know that learning to live my life and let them live their life, regardless of the bad mistakes that they seem to be, they're going to make, right? And that is a tough one, to learn to live and let live. And I see it with my parents. I see it with my ex-wife. I see it with my kids. I see it with my coworkers, and sit in a meeting sometimes and you hear, especially when it's open mic night, whenever people just come in and want to just let it go, oh my God, it's usually a few things. And traffic is one you hear a lot of in meetings. People just still have that, I'm working on road rage. I'm working on my road rage, or I've only flipped 3 people off this week, or whatever, And then you have people talking about their jobs and their coworkers, And then you have, of course, the ex-spouse that they always get a lot of credit for whatever's going on in our heads. And have you seen the ad when you're driving down the highway? It says, "We live rent-free in your head." Have you seen it? Have any of y'all?
Yeah, I've seen
Larry, you hadn't seen it? Oh man, it's an AA statement that I heard back. I'd never heard it before, AA, and now it's on billboards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's one on I-20. It's like, I don't know, some cable company that said, "Now we will live rent free in your head," or something, right? But learning to live and let live. Do you have trouble with that?
Not as much as I did. I can tell you that much. That was, first of all, like, I didn't know what the hell that meant. It sounds like something from like a 007 movie.
I think it was.
Like that song. But anyway, I struggled with that because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to surrender. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to control things or let things be, or not try to manipulate them or try to make things happen. So it was a very bizarre concept to get my head around at first, because then how else is shit going to happen? And so, I mean, it took me over 5 years just to get that I didn't have to run the show, or anything of that nature. And I want to say the past 8 years have just been really good to me in the fact that I understand that now, and I don't have to insert myself in much. I literally suit up, show up. Am I perfect? No. Does it happen occasionally? Absolutely. But I find myself doing that way quicker than from just being totally oblivious to the whole deal. I realize I'm doing it. I'm like, damn, there you go again. And then I, say some type of prayer, and I just live and let live. It is what it is. That is a beautiful thing. It's taken so much stress out of my life. It's taken so much anxiety out of my life. As far as what you were saying, as expectations go, I try to actually not have them. To be honest, I've had such grand expectations for my life that none of them were ever met, and they still haven't. I mean, a couple of them, but it's I just constantly, it was like a form of self-sabotage, setting myself up for failure over and over and over and over again, which just kept me in that web of self-pity and self-hatred, because things never went my way. And for me to be happy and for me to be content means I had to let all of that go. Things are great. Things are happening just the way they're supposed to. And I'm just fine with it. I am absolutely fine with it. And I find it easier. I'm so glad I learned that lesson in NAA, God bless, to live and let live. Because to me, it was just a saying that meant nothing. You know, those sayings that people say all the time, and you're like, what does that really mean? But I get it now, and it is a hell of a lot easier just to step back and let everything happen, let everybody happen, everything. Just it's really freeing.
Sure.
Do you know where it's at?
Where's what at?
That's that slogan in the big book. Do you know where it's at?
It's on a billboard. I'm just
No,
kidding.
In the big book.
No, I'm not. No.
So Larry,
Anywho,
this is our big book trivia here.
Yeah, don't do that to me.
Well, there's only 3 of them, 3 actual slogans that we see on the walls in all the clubhouses all over America. And first things first, live and let live and easy does it, are actually in the big book at the very bottom of the family after like the last, I don't know, the last 3 things in there. So Larry, how long you got now? About 12 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
December 15th, 2011.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. He's right there 6 months. We're right 6 months apart, just back to back.
And I chose that day because December 13th, I got arrested for a DUI, and I was still drunk 2 days later,
Yeah.
pretty much when I got out.
Yeah. It's a good one.
So I can't really claim the first 2 days.
I go, oh, okay. So I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. So the last day you ingested alcohol was actually,
The 13th.
yeah. Wow.
like I always joke with Ben, you know you're an alcoholic when you have to check the police report to get your sobriety date. You know, oh, they got me. That was it. So Ben said that. I said, well, man, what's your sobriety date? He goes, let me get the police report.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And he looks like a police report. kind of
He
guy.
is he's a walking police report. That
So
guy.
Larry been sober 12 years. And have you had to adopt, you know, not just the principle of live and let live or the saying, the slogan, but have you had to adopt that?
I have to remind myself a lot. Live and let live to me means live my own life and let other people live theirs.
Yeah.
And I can't control people, and I have to remind myself of that every day. I mean, every day. But, my higher power has a very good sense of humor, and he'll put people in your life that will remind you of that strongly. And I just remember this one guy that used to ask me for a ride after the meeting, but then he would smoke cigarettes, hang out, and the meeting after the meeting, and I was always in a rush to get where I was going, and eventually I just had to realize he is that way. I cannot change him any more than I can change myself, So yeah.
And you bring up a good point, whenever you were telling that story about that guy is, live and let live has 2 sides to it, right?
Sure.
It means just exactly what you said, live my life and let other people live theirs. But it also means that other people's lives and how they live them, I don't have to let that infringe on mine.
Very true.
And I don't know. I would consider myself a people pleaser. I'm just the opposite of Matt. Hey, Matt, I'm about to drive 3 hours to get the boat. You gonna be home? I don't know, man. We'll see.
And then my kid lets y'all steal it, but just watch it.
But
Talk about live and let live.
I know. There is 2 sides to that. And when someone else is, I tell this story, actually when I tell my story, a lot of times I do, but at year 6, I had gotten so wrapped up in thinking that I could fix my son that it almost cost me my sobriety. There was a time where I was driving down the road. I lived in Monroe or West Monroe at the time, and I was driving back from the Koala Club, and I'm going to meetings, I'm working a program, I'm calling a sponsor pretty regularly. I'm talking to other alcoholics all day, every day. I'm doing the things they tell me to do, and I've got 6 years under my belt, which at the time I'm thinking, I'm the shit, right? Because I got 6 whole years. And there was a lot going on with that kid. Now, he's been sober now. He just got 6 years. So I'm driving down the road, and another thing happened. And it seemed like every day something was happening, which it does when you're an active alcoholic in addiction, where it's in the final progression stages, where, even getting in trouble with the law starts to be old stuff whenever you start having the health problems. But he was having some problems. And I mean, it was to the point where I was like, man, I'm going to pull over on the side of the road. I'm going to get up. I'm going to get off on the exit. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go back to the liquor store, and I'm going to buy a half gallon, and I'm going to take it home, and I'm going to put it between me and him, and we'll just ruin our lives together. And that was my mindset. I had made up my mind. And just by chance, some guy that was out there. He was on something. I don't know what it was, but he FaceTimed me. And nobody, back then, nobody really FaceTimed as much as they do now. But this cat FaceTimed me, and like he was shaking and crying and snotting all over the place. And I talked to him for about an hour, telling him, you don't need to do this, and you need to put some distance between you and whatever it is, and whatever's going on, it ain't gonna stay the same forever. I tell him all the stuff that I should be telling myself, and then by the time I'm finished talking to him, I basically had talked myself out of it. Get back on the road, I go back to Monroe. And then at that point, when I got back to my apartment, I had some alone time with me and God. That is when I realized I've got to learn to live my life and let other people live theirs and make their own mistakes. And it's tough. It's people you care about, and they're close to you. And especially if you see impending doom, and that's one of the reasons I thank my father, my dad, because he was never like that. He just like, yeah, go ahead, stick your finger in that plug. Lick that frying pan, see what happens. I mean, he never stood in my way of anything. He let me make a lot of mistakes growing up. And and turned me into an alcoholic. No, it just that's how I learned in recovery that I'm going to have to live and let live, and then hanging around with people who were not alcoholics, and you sit there and you listen to their conversations, and all they're talking about is what other people are doing wrong. And you're like, man, and you could they get emotionally charged, and I'm thinking, man, yeah, ain't nobody that important. I'm an alcoholic. I can't do that.
Waste of time and energy and just everything.
Isn't it crazy though? We're around alcoholics and we deal with alcohol stuff, related people, and so we're kind of used to dealing with that. But you get in the outside of that in the real world. I'm glad he brought that up. You start to listen to people and you go, God, this is way worse. Like they don't even have a reference to go. What do I do here? There's no program. It's just the Wild West. And sometimes I'm like, I'd rather deal with a drunk, I mean, they just don't have anything to fall back on. And I don't know, sometimes, most of the time, we can at least steer it back out of the ditch a little bit, but
it's exhausting. Always. I mean, it absolutely is exhausting. I can't imagine living like that anymore.
Yeah.
I have zero desire.
And too, it's funny, like, just had a guy that I'm working with, got out of treatment. His girlfriend was home with their kid. He gets out. He's one day out, right? He calls me in the morning. He calls me in the evening. We've talked. The next day, he calls me at night. My electricity's turned off. The world's on fire. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, what am I going to do? They're not going to. He's panicked. And I said, well.
Did he flip the switch? His breaker's
that's
out.
That's the first thing. No, I said, hey, okay, well, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to die. It's 70 degrees outside. We'll figure it out between now and tomorrow. And so we came up with a plan. By the next morning, everything was situated. And, and it's like, hey, man, this is part of the deal, and use this to go, I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to keep my head up and focus on what I'm supposed to be doing and what we had been talking about. And it, he got through it. And then the next day he was, I didn't mean to be that worked up. I'm like, I get it. But, at the same time, it is what it is. You were in treatment. Your girlfriend's trying to pay all the bills by herself. And this kind of stuff happens. So we just work on it as best we can. So, but yeah, it's funny just to, that's what I told him. I said, what are you going now to get hammered drunk in the dark at your house with your girlfriend and your little girl? How's that going to help it in any way, shape, or form? What's it going to do to help the problem? Nothing. I said, there you go. Then let's figure it out. So, but yeah, it's funny to hear that attitude early on, and now it's just a breath of fresh air to go, okay, I see what this is, and try to work on it, and so I don't know. It's funny, that early sobriety stuff, though. Everything's the sky is falling. So.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, too, because whenever people are in early sobriety, it might not be a good idea to live and let them live.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not.
They're going to go out and do some...
Let your sponsor live and let live for you at that
Exactly.
point, so... Yeah. But, I mean, I'm grateful for my sponsor because he doesn't get emotional. It's never I'm sure y'all do that with y'all sponsees, but I'm an emotional guy, so I'm fired up all the time, well, good, bad, or indifferent. Jill has talked to me in moments of distress. I get a little worked up. But he's never been that way. And so when I call him and I go, oh, man, and I had all that stuff, man, early sobriety, got out, had to get a job, had 4 kids at home, just got out of treatment, bills don't stop. And it's like, hell with this, But he would always just, hey, tomorrow we're going to do this. And I'm like, well, I want to do it right now. No, we're going to do it tomorrow. And then I learned that as I just let it breathe a minute and give some time, you can look at it a little different way. And instead of making that emotional, fire the rockets,
Judy, are you the first normie we've had on here?
Me?
Yeah. Well, as close to it as we get. I don't think we
I
had.
believe you did have a couple that.
Who?
The husband.
Debbie,
was
that's
there,
right.
was a
Debbie.
wife, so.
Yeah. Well, she's still on the fence.
But
No, kidding.
definition
You're getting
of
beat up
normal
now,
is
dude.
not me.
Well, obviously, you can jump in anytime you want, say
Yes.
anything, just because this is. I mean that. Our problems, I think sometimes we think are solely on alcoholics.
Oh, no.
And the truth is that these things are, a lot of folks have
everyone.
them.
They're
And
life lessons
the
for
reason,
everybody.
the reason the show is called The Grouch and the Brainstorm is just because some of these things are stuff we just can't do, or it leads back down a road of, I don't know, they say resentment, number one offender, and these things just eat people up sometimes,
Well, you said something about being a people pleaser, and that's me because I don't like confrontation, and I want to be friends with everybody and make peace and nice. And I have found myself removing myself from toxic people and their behavior because it was taking a toll on me.
And they will.
And
They'll make you age.
It's unhealthy.
and
Look at all this gray hair I got up under this.
so yeah, that live and let live. You do you, I'll do me.
Yeah.
Walking away sometimes is the healthiest choice,
And-
only
and
choice.
It seems to be the hardest when we deal with family.
Oh,
It
it's
really
painful.
does. I don't know everybody's siblings or all that other stuff, but I just know that that's, for some reason, that little inner circle, but then, when you come to AA, a lot of times we've drank away that inner circle, so we get back out there and we start visiting with people just like us. And it's just kind of like I hate to say this word, it's kind of like marriage, whenever you're finally together in the same house, and you ain't got to be married to do that. I'm not picking on anybody, but you start to see those little character defects start to get, like Bart Simpson and his dad, you see those little the character defects start to come out in other folks, and learning to live and let live, I joke about this all the time, and I sure hope nobody, I can't learn to live and let live when it's, 65 degrees in the house. I just can't do that.
Is that too cold?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 65 degrees is too cold for me.
I'm just checking.
Yeah. It's still too cold for me.
No, I agree. Unless I'm sleeping. Okay, never mind.
Well, if you're sleeping, you probably don't feel anything. It's right up until you fall asleep.
Right. I can't fall asleep if it's
hot,
warm.
I can't do it. Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Jill's one of them people. She must be at the morgue, and she's gonna be like, "Can y'all shut that door, please? You're letting heat in."
I like it frigid when I sleep. I did that in Colorado. I'd open my door, open my window.
Let all the weed in.
No. I mean, it would be like
Trap it in there.
20 degrees outside, and I'd sleep with my windows open. It was wonderful.
Oh my God.
Well, they said Colorado's a dry cold.
It is.
It's still cold.
People are out in shorts and shirts in 40-degree weather. It's wonderful.
Really?
And they're stoned.
Not everybody's stoned up there.
A good thing we don't have a list of states that we're in, because I probably just pissed some people off too.
Well,
But I like your idea of walking away. Just you got to walk away from those toxic situations, and that in itself, when it's family, that can be very tough. Walking away from Ed, at the liquor store who hits on you every time you go in there. That's a little bit easier than walking away from your sister.
Who's Ed? What are
you don't have to bring up my love life, Mike. On air,
Actually, I knew a lot of folks at the liquor store.
I feel like there's something more to this story. We'll talk later.
Yeah.
It was just a scenario.
Oh, okay.
First, we've heard of Ed.
Yeah, I know one Ed, and he works for the company I work for down in New Orleans.
So if you know me, I've come up with a universal get me out of a situation, whether it's not say something smart aleck, which is my nature. I don't know if y'all figured that out yet.
Please.
Or just, I don't want to be emotionally, I just go, and I just sit there and I don't say nothing. When you hear that, something's up, and I'm fighting the urge to,
You see a red flag.
involve myself in something I shouldn't be involved in, So, and what's funny, I finally went to an Al-Anon meeting, never been to one. Went to one and they had a list of their slogans, and it
When
was like,
did you go?
I've been to 4. Yeah, here in town.
You're a veteran.
I don't know if I'm a veteran.
Larry, you ever been to Al-Anon meeting?
I've never.
I was a newcomer.
I haven't either.
But they talk about this in relation to dealing with the alcoholic, and I get a list of words that are non-confrontational, and was on the list. I was like, bang, I'm already Al-Anon, and I didn't even know it.
What was on the list? Your name?
No. The expressions, like we're talking about expressions. Yeah, that was one of
you
them.
could be right.
Or I understand how you feel. That's another one. So
No, there's something very.
If they want to be confrontational at that point, they're going to go, "No, you don't. You don't know how I feel."
well. I just, I'm going to take out my Al-Anon paper and go, no, it says right here, I do understand how you feel.
I've got the handbook.
See? It says it right here. Right here.
I've got my Al-Anon handbook. You're
says,
supposed to.
I've been saying that for
quit
years.
Being aggressive. Back off. Yeah. Back off. I got my handbook. They're teaching me how to live and let live.
It says right here, you need to accept Jesus into your heart, I don't think that one's on the list.
Oh, Al-Anon you went to, man. Wasn't it?
I think I've been to 4 of them, maybe. Yeah. I didn't get a chip or anything, like a one-day chip.
Judy, you ever been to Al-Anon?
I have not.
Jill, you ever been to one?
I went to a couple when I lived in Monroe in early sobriety. I went to
I think Judy would get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I think, yes, I agree with you 100%. I think Al-Anon, kind of like AA, if you are willing to actually be open-minded, willing and honest, you're probably going to get a lot out of everything. You know what I mean? Al-Anon, I've actually recommended, I've never been to one, but I've recommended, hey, your spouse might need to go to Al-Anon, But what gets me is whenever I hear like these hardcore. Okay, when I first got to the Koala Club, I didn't know what Al-Anon was, Alateen. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. And we had this couple there named Jim, and Jim founded the Koala Club. He was one of the founders. And his wife's name was Nelda, and Nelda was like the queen of Al-Anon. She started it up at the Koala Club back in like 85, 86. And I had never heard of Al-Anon, and so I spent some time with Nelda, just learning. She was the treasurer, I was the president of the Koala Club, and I would spend time just learning what Jim had been sober, I want to say about 45 years when he passed. That may be off 3 or 4 on either side of that, but and I was actually with him when he died. But he it was in the hospital. You know,
You didn't get shot in the drive-by.
God.
I didn't know. You know,
no, but that koala club can be pretty rough. But
tough over there.
but she would tell me, you know, this is what I did to learn how to live with him, how to even, you know, and I think they were like, he got sober right after they met. So, you know, those isms or whatever we call them, they kind of carried over into their, you know, and then she went to Al-Anon and then ultimately, but that's how she coped with living with him. You know, she could be under the same roof. And,
Well, in Al-Anon too, what impressed me is it's kind of the way our program is, where it's focused on what we do and what we control, and it's the same for them. I thought, I had the impression it'd be like, let's get the drunk, you know, attack, you know, and it wasn't that. It was more like, how do we? Yeah, I really did. I thought they're gonna
How do we
just get
survive?
after me when I get in here, you know, and it wasn't. It was you know, the same thing. What is the responsibility of that Al-Anon person? Like, how am I reacting to it? The same way we do it, you know. And I was married to someone, not to get it too far into that, but also one of us. So, it kind of, I was able to tie some of that in, you know, and yeah, I enjoy them. I mean, I enjoy them. It's learning how to deal with yourself. At the end of the day, it's how do I live at peace with what's going on around me? So, but they call us qualifiers. That's what we're called in there. I'm a qualifier, Mike.
Qualifier?
Yeah, a qualifier,
why
not
do
a
you-
koala bear.
Why do they call you
Qualifier, like they say.
It sounds like he's been to more than 4.
I've been to 4 because I kept asking, how do you spell that? What's that word mean? You know, yeah. So I guess their addict or alcoholic person is the.
I just feel like anybody could
Qualifier.
qualify because I mean, like everybody, like you were saying earlier, no one is given a book on how to live.
Sure.
We're all doing the best we can. Some not so well.
Some would beg to differ.
I wish everybody went through the steps.
There is a book out there. Just saying.
Yeah, and I mean that's what impressed me about
let's
it though
talk about that.
was you know that's what their their whole deal is basically the same thing, and it's not about I'm married. I mean it is, but I'm married to an alcoholic. It's or that's my daughter or son or uncle or whoever, but yeah, it's just focused on how do we do better with ourselves, you know, and that other person has to work on themselves. So, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. So,
Well, I can say some of my biggest growing moments in the 12 years he and I have been together.
God.
I've had that
It's been that long.
moment. Yeah.
I'm getting old. I'm getting old.
It's because what Larry has learned in AA. So,
Our first date was supposed to be the night I went to jail.
Yeah.
So she got ready and I was
in jail.
in jail.
Oh no.
So I
Well, you had an excuse.
technically stood her up on our first date.
I mean, it's only up from there.
Did you know
know?
you was in jail, or did you call her and say, "Hey, look, I can't
Yeah.
make it"?
I didn't use her as my first call, no.
Judy, you have bail money. I know we just met, but I hear you're a people pleaser.
right?
I need bail money.
Toxic behavior.
A guy that I met and dated. I met him that night. I got my DWI and he bailed me out.
Wow.
But yeah, well,
That was a
You
nice
can't
guy.
tell me
I've got
AA 's
one. I
boring.
don't
not
know if I should say or
doing
not, but well,
just shut your mouth.
okay, I'm gonna tell it anyway.
I'm
This
just kidding.
past week, I was supposed to go out with this chick. She goes home. It's like an hour and a half away. She goes home. I don't hear from her. Like, it wasn't anything, just solid concrete. We were gonna hang out. I don't hear from her, and I texted her a couple times. I'm like, hey.
So when you
Yeah,
say she went home to the Lord?
No, like her hometown. But
okay.
she's living here. It was like an hour and a half away. This was earlier this week, and then I get a call. She calls at like 10:30 that night. She's like, I was like, everything okay? Yeah, I made it back home. I'm like, all right, well, how was your trip? You know, and she goes, I got arrested. I'm like, oh, cool. And she goes, yeah, we were riding through town. As soon as we got through town, I was riding with her brother, and he was speeding and something, and then I was like, oh, this is lovely. They both got thrown in jail. Wow. 3 hours, she's back in Bossier. I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can go out tomorrow night. You know,
So it's an hour and a half north, south, east, or west?
North.
Oh,
Way north.
yeah. Well, I mean, hour and a half north.
I mean, yeah, something like that.
No matter
But
how you look at it.
I ain't going to get into the details, but yeah, I was like, well, that's all right. So, you know, party on.
So everybody at the table has a drunk date story but me.
I got a lot of drunk date stories
I meant jail.
don't get
that
me
I can
started
tell
on that.
here.
Jail date stories.
Who has been zip tied to the light post on Bourbon Street? Raise your hand. Who had a knife in their pocket and cut themselves out and jailbreaked during the middle of Mardi Gras? Raise your hand.
Well, you might have active warrants, man. You may not.
They don't do that, man. Back in the day, they were so tired of drunks, they would grab you on the horse,
Tie you
They're
up
on
to
the
a
horse,
light post
you know?
or something.
He didn't
Yeah,
tell
they
you.
would-
The cops that zip tied him to the light post had on no shirt and leather vest. With a
I
little
mean, details are hazy, you know.
assless chaps.
There was a horse there, is what I'm saying. But yeah, that was that was the middle of the late '90s, you know. So
Oh, late 90s when that,
That went
stuff.
weird really quick.
yeah,
Stuff was,
Mike and I don't need to be on
late,
here together.
late 90s was when that stuff was really big.
Man,
Zip ties that just came out.
No, they really would, man. They'd ride through there and you're running around with no clothes on or something. They go, come here. They'd grab you and they had a wagon that would come through and pick everybody up, but every light pole just had, they just tie you to it.
It
You
is
just
Mardi
wait.
Gras, though.
Yeah, it is Mardi Gras. You wait, let them ride on their horse, and then hey,
I can tell you,
buddy, cut you out.
I never seen it with my own eyes, but from living down there, right? They probably needed it because every little town down there has a Mardi Gras. So what you see on TV is the one on Bourbon Street, you know, in the middle. But all those little tiny towns have a miniature Mardi Gras, and it's just as wild.
Well, and this whole state does.
Oh no, nothing like they shut schools down for Mardi Gras week.
Oh, well, yeah.
Like it's bigger than Christmas down there. Mardi Gras is, you know.
You slept there.
If not, it's about the same. Mm-hmm. Oh, you did. You lived in the quarter, didn't you? Uptown.
No, I lived uptown.
So before I get off track too far, I wanted to. I got an email from Jane,
Oh, okay.
and well, you got the email. You remember the email?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
no. I mean, like, I remember you sent it to me and I read it, but I can't remember what it said.
Well, it was talking about the new plain language big book. Mm-hmm. Okay, and apparently they had a fun day. Was it
Unity Day.
Unity Day? I forget.
Unity.
They had
Fun day?
Unity Day at the Koala Club, and they had a whole little workshop on the plain language big book. Mm-hmm. And I guess what Jane's email was trying to say is they had low attendance, and even though they had low attendance, maybe people were still complaining about the plain language big book, and you know maybe
I
there's
was in there when that happened.
and maybe there's a little the low attendance.
It was maybe 10 people there.
Okay, was anybody complaining about the plain language big book? Have you heard of the plain language big book?
I have not.
I haven't either.
So here's been the deal on that. Yes, there's been complaining because people don't want, and this was the same thing I said in Unity Day, and I'll say it again. This discussion kept going back and forth in Unity Day, and it was not unity, okay, on it. I get the old school mentality. We read the big book. I love the big book the way it is. I don't think they ought to change it. The point I brought up is this. We, as a group, Alcoholics Anonymous, voted to have this new version of the big book.
Now it doesn't replace. It's not.
And it is not replacing
what
the
I
big book. Okay. This is like a King James version of the big book, basically. Simple, easy to read.
You read the King James version of the Bible?
It's not
Yeah.
easy to read. Huh? It's more like the New American Standard Version.
Yeah. It's very simple.
Like-
yeah. But the thing being with it, we vote on things as a group. And when we vote them in, that means our people voted them, whether I personally like it or not.
Right.
The Alcoholics Anonymous voted that we're going to have this, and we have it. At the end of the day, our primary purpose is to carry the message. I work in treatment centers. I give people big books, and they go, man, they're 20 years old. The first thing they want to do is get on their phone it's a new mentality.
And start trying to figure out the lingo.
Yeah. And it's a different time, a different day. So the thing about it is it's adapt or die. We voted it in. So fussing about it is not going to.
Who's we? The
Alcoholics Anonymous.
So
as a
as
whole.
a
Yeah,
whole.
we voted
Oh,
it. They
okay.
voted that. I was actually the GSR when we started that.
So
And
basically, if I'm hearing you right, if you're in a big book study and someone's got a plain text big book, don't get on your high horse if they start reading out of this plain text big book.
What's the
And it
difference?
doesn't match up.
And that's
with
gonna
your
be-
old school one.
that's going to be a bridge that everybody's going to have to deal with, I'm sure, in their own group.
Well, here's what I'll do for our next episode. I will email or text Coleman R. And have him tell me what the differences are.
What's the difference? Like, did they issue a whole nother book, or
It's
what,
like-
what's going on?
There is going to be a 5th edition, regular big book. The only changes are going to be the stories. Okay, just like it is in every edition, right?
Yeah.
Up until now. And then they're coming out with a separate book called the Plain Language Big Book. And it just it's kind of like
What's wrong with the one we?
This is not my phrase, but this is the phrase I heard over and over. Big book for dummies.
Is it just simplified?
Yes,
It's
very
essentially-
simplified, like a study
they
guide
want to
type
use that
of
harsh language.
Cliff Notes. Yeah,
Now the
and
Jaywalker is a female.
Really?
That's what I heard.
Oh, in the new book?
Yeah, in the Plain Language Big Book.
but the point of all that being, and
Which
I think
makes
at the
more
end of the
sense.
day, talking about being
We knew it all
Our
along.
first.
dum-dum-dum.
Oh, where's my button? I don't know where my button is. I won't hit it.
But I mean, really, at the end of the day, though, at the end of the day, it's all about carrying the message. There you go. And however we carry that message, I mean, Bill and Bob and them didn't have the internet when they started. Now you can look on Meeting Guide on your phone and find where to go to a meeting. We don't do landlines anymore. You know, things change, whether I like it or not, and I don't agree with it personally, but it doesn't matter what I think.
Well,
You
that's where
adapt
you live
die
and let
use it.
live.
Yeah, exactly, and use it. I mean,
Yeah.
if it helps somebody get in there,
It's
and
the live
then
and
that's-
let live.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's
Prime example.
You
I
know,
just didn't know that there was a problem. Someone had a problem. Like
It's been
so
going on
much
for a while,
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
need to make a new book.
Anytime you have change, you have people who don't want to adapt to that change.
Yeah.
Lord
I'm not
knows,
fighting it.
I can tell you. I've got to counsel 350 to 500 people every time we have a change. And over the course of time, we see the change gets better, or it's there for a reason, or it goes away because it didn't work, right? And the same with the Plain Language Big Book. You're going to have that. But I could see it being a major issue in AA if it was replacing the actual Big Book, you know. And yeah, have you ever realized the Big Book's only 164 pages? Judy, you ever read the Big Book?
With Larry, yes.
Yeah.
But not just.
You ought to crack that sucker open one day and just read it. And then as an experiment, read the Plain Language Big Book and then come back on the show and go,
That's a
hey,
good idea.
because I think that having someone that doesn't drink or a non-alcoholic read the Big Book.
Oh, I like it.
164 pages, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 days tops.
Is it already being published?
I think it's Matt probably
Yeah,
has a copy on his phone.
no, I don't.
Well, it's coming out pretty soon. As soon as the 5th edition comes out.
Huh, I didn't even know any of this.
Wasn't the
was
5th
happening.
edition?
At the end of the day, though, times change, people change. The problem doesn't change, but the personalities, the way they do things. I told them at Uni today, my daughter will go to the convenience store, get in line with a Coke in her hand, and text me and go, "Hey, cash at me $2." I'm like, what? Like, I don't do all that. I'm like, you're standing in line? Yeah, I'm at the cash register. I'm like, you went all the way up there. You didn't say nothing. Now, it's a different mentality, a different world. And
Right.
I this past week, every Thursday at the place I work, we graduate the people graduating from treatment. We had 14 people this week got a 30-day chip, and they graduated. That's 14 people out of one treatment center that are heading out to go do 90 and 90 and get a big book and do all these things. And they're young people. They're 20, 25. Most of them, I ask them in there, I go, do you know what a sponsor is? No. You know what AA? No. Don't know any of that. So if they're able to pick up that easier to read book and it gets them started. And also, the other point I brought up to that was we sponsor people. It's our job to carry that forward and go, hey, this was how this started. This is why this is here. It gives us an opportunity to talk to them and spend time with them and explain some of that. You know, and they don't know, but it's not that they don't want to know. They don't know what they don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I'm as for it as I'm going to be because it got voted in by us. So,
well, there had to be some kind of majority rule.
oh, it was absolutely.
So,
I mean, who gets to understands the big book the first time they read it?
Yeah, I read it.
I was like,
well, the
much
first
brain.
time I read it, I was drunk.
Yeah, right. I was like,
Kind of like, you know, Larry in his 2 days before his sobriety date.
Yeah.
That's the first time I read it.
it took me quite a while to comprehend what was going on in that book.
The coolest dude I did a intake on, they brought him from Baton Rouge, little bitty guy, and he shows up in the van, you know, and gets out. He's drunk, and he's got a little drawstring bag. That's all he's got with him, and he's fixing to go in treatment. And older guy, and so he's drunk. He's talking, and I'm opening his bag to see what's in there, and he had two things: a full pint of gin in a plastic bottle, so that tells you how classy that gin was, and a AA Big Book. That's all he had. And I was
I
like,
thought he was going to say like somebody's ashes.
no. I had a guy pull 70 grand out.
Yeah.
There was that.
That's the one I was.
Yeah. Ooh. But yeah, I mean, I'm like, what a combo right here, you know? So, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, we read stuff on our phone now. I ask people to read before a meeting and hand them how it works. And they go, oh, I got it on my phone. And they just read it off their phone. So things change, you know, we just have to keep rolling. So.
But, you know, that is, in all honesty, most people nowadays are reading like that. That's how they're.
Sure.
So I'm in the process of writing a book. I told Jill the other day. Yeah. I'm hoping I have it completely done by summer. And no, it's not a memoir or a tell-all or any of that kind of stuff. It's more or less just everyday coping with different things that go on in life, and so I'll just little bit about it. Right, the title of the book is going to be called Honeysuckle, and it's about whenever I smell honeysuckle, it takes me back to a simpler time in life. Like it reminds me of a spot where my grandmother lived in Cedar Grove. And I would be back then. It was okay, and I remember laying in the grass in her backyard next to the honeysuckle plants, and that's one of the earliest memories I remember. And whenever I took the second step, and it says restore you to sanity, that's probably as far back as I could remember when I had sanity, and that is my honeysuckle. So every once in a while, when I get wrapped around the axle, I have to find whatever my honeysuckle is. And, you know, that's the basics of it. You know, I don't want to.
I look forward to reading it.
Well, it's, you know, hopefully it's going to be more than 164 pages. But I try to write in it every day.
I like that. So. That's cool. Sweet olive is my smell. It takes me back to
That's nice.
my grandparents,
Cedar Grove
early
is my
80s.
Hamster cedar with a little tinge of ammonia in it.
That's right. That's right. I forgot y'all were from Cedar Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandparents and all are from there.
Well, I mean,
On
you
my
know,
dad's
and
family.
here's the deal. What inspired me or what made me want to start writing this is we all know that person, whether it's a guy or a girl, and they seem perfectly okay and perfectly content, and everything's okay with them. Matter of fact, they have a perfect life, it seems. And they're friendly and they get along with everyone. And then you wake up one morning and they're gone. And they've done it to themselves, right? And why? What leads to that? What are the things that lead to that, right? And at some point, could they have found something, you know, like that? Like I have, you know, like I call my honeysuckle, but you know, and that's just a name for it because I came up with that name whenever I was doing the second step all those years ago. But that's just something that we see, and we see it too much in AA. You know, I do. I've seen way too much of that. So that's you know that is the basic. You know, so you tie all that together in 200 and something pages, and you got a book. You know, you had to put a little fluff in there. You know, but anyway, that's I'm currently working on it. I work on it every day. I have to dig back into there and do a little thinking every so often. Different parts of life. A lot of it is experiences I've had with sponsees and stuff like that. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But what got me on that subject is self-publishing, because you can self-publish now. Like you can go, back in the day, you had to write a manuscript, and then you had editors come in and they would edit it, and then you'd send it off to a publisher, and they may like it, they may not like it. If they didn't like it, they'd send it back to you and say, thank you for trying. If they did like it, they'll order X amount of books, and then bookstores order those books, and you know where I'm going with it. Just kind of, and now you can self-publish, especially if you're not trying to make a buck off of it, which I'm not. You can just self-publish, and plus, most people can't say they wrote a book.
Sure.
you know.
I can't. I know y'all are.
I
I looked at
can't
Matt when I
either.
said
I was thinking about how many pictures are going to be in this book so I can look at it, Mike.
pop-up book. It's one of them where you
Like a
open
comic-
it,
a
a bottle of
comic book.
Taka just pops up, close it. The book's gonna be just thick enough to hide a bottle of liquor when you cut the.
I'm going to sound it out. You know, that's what I'm going to do. So,
And so that's why they make the plain language big book.
That's
Man, you
exact-
should
for me.
Don't be a critic, man.
hey, I've struggled through the 164. I can handle anything. So, you know.
You do
my
get to
first-
learn some new old words.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
A
what's that?
couple of them, I was like, oh, all right. So,
You know, in AA, some of the things that we learn, I should have learned growing up,
Like,
learning to cope with other people
oh,
and what other people are doing.
yeah, for sure.
And you know, the live and let live is so much bigger than it sounds, because that is a huge part of my program. From, you know, I've got kids, daughter and son. Do they make the same decisions I would have made? Do I want to change them? Do I want them? All of those, yes. You want to jump out there and do different, right? Mm-hmm. And I've got to learn just to let them do them things and me do my thing, you know,
Yeah.
and be there when a dad's needed and not there when I'm not needed, you know, and that's, you know, and I should have learned that from my father, who taught me that, but I didn't pick up on it.
yeah, I missed out on a lot of lessons myself. I wasn't
Yeah.
paying attention.
Well, I feel it's
So,
the same way with sponsorship. I mean, like, I can take you through the steps, I can give suggestions, but can I make you do the deal or take my advice or whatever? No. So, just is what it is.
and that's, you know, and this is kind of off subject, but a little bit on subject. So sponsors being in treatment, I get people ask me a lot of, they're getting out. What? I need a good sponsor. I'm like, just get a sponsor, period. Just get a sponsor.
Yeah, go to a meeting.
Anybody that's willing to sponsor you, if they're willing to do it, there's no good or bad sponsors. It's
They
the
don't have
daggone-
5-star ratings.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do 5-star ratings like, and I tell them it's your recovery. It's not your sponsor's recovery. You're going to be the one to have to do this. This is somebody just to guide you through it. You know, and God has a way of working out that relationship, and He may work it out where, hey, I need somebody else. This isn't
Yeah.
working. And any good sponsor, if a sponsee says, hey, we're not going fast enough for me, or I'm not, they're more than happy, man, I'm going to help you find somebody. Like, it's their recovery. And, you know, I think they have in their head that a sponsor's a banker and a lawyer and all this other stuff. And it's
Marriage
like,
counselor.
oh, that's yeah,
They
that's a
sad.
good
They-
one.
I don't know about you, Matt. They come to me for that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're asking. That's what I tell them. You're asking me.
I'm gonna tell you, stay with them.
Yeah,
You know, if you wake up every morning with a knife to your neck, stay with them.
I mean,
It's a whole lot cheaper. Just
yeah,
stay with them.
yeah.
Pray for death.
That's
stay
wisdom
with
right
them.
there. That's wisdom. Pray for death. Pray for death.
No, I'm not a yeah. And I don't know if Larry, I don't know if you've ever had that, but with a lot of them, it's. We said this on the last episode, but a lot of the guys, especially the newcomers, it's mainly finance and romance. You know, the two things that, yeah.
Yeah, and my transmission on my car, you know, whatever. It's always something.
Well, I
But,
mean, you got to think about it, dude. I don't know about you, Matt. Yeah, dude. I know pretty much about your story, but I'm drinking a fifth a day, and I'm drank everything in my life away, and I'm dying. And you know, I find 2-3 weeks where I get to go without, and I have some people I can hang out with that don't drink, and I'm worried about a woman.
Mm-hmm.
or I'm worried about a car. You know, I mean, I was headed to the ground. I mean, I'm doing pretty damn good if I can worry about that kind of stuff.
You know, and two, like you got this guy the other day. He got out of treatment. He's been with this lady for a long time, and he gets out and he's all upset about all kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, look, my whole focus with anybody like that is we got to get you through. It's got to be blinders on. We're not making no big changes. We're going to go to work. We're going to do the stuff we're supposed to do. Go to our meetings. We're going to do all that stuff. All that extra life stuff going on, as best you can, blinders on, through the tunnel, put all that to the side. And he had a little disagreement with the partner, and I said, hey, just shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. Don't say a word. Smile on your face. Get up and take care of it. We're not going to get into a discussion or just assume you're wrong. You know, let's just assume that. So, but it's part of learning to go, okay, what am I supposed to do here? You know, and then we want to operate on our feelings and, well, now I'm mad. Well, what are you you're still supposed to go to work if you're mad. You're still supposed to go to your meetings if you're mad. So, but it's fun. It's so cool when they, Jill had one of our favorite people had a sponsee that got a birthday the other day, and it was so cool seeing her get a year, you know.
That
and Mike,
was
and
complete. That
awesome.
I mean, well, in the chip, I just almost lost my shit in the middle of the meeting.
Who is this?
My girl.
Sheila. Got a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be God.
I know,
dang.
man. I know.
That's insane.
I was telling her in the meeting about her coming in that day with you and I before the meeting, and she was upset and all that. And
I'm so proud.
man, I know we all are, but it's like you
wanna start
gotta
crying.
you gotta put that you got to put that
and it's because she listens to our show every week. That might drive her to drink.
Well, but yeah, I mean, that's so cool, you know, but it takes that almost focus of nothing else right now is going to distract me. And I guess you do have to be a little selfish with it, but at the end of the day, if you're selfish, then it benefits everybody else.
Well,
Congratulations,
run.
Sheila.
yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Sheila. Man, last time I saw her, she was out here for your, whatever we had, that cornhole day or...
Oh yeah, when I barbecued.
Yeah, that's the last time I saw her. But you know, and not to forget, and we're running out of time here. But on every show, we like to talk about, or at least this season 2, we like to talk about the tradition that you know. And I think I might have forgot that with Lisa. Every other one I forget. But anyway, tradition 7 is the one we're on. And do you know which one that is?
Sure, but I'm gonna let you read it.
According to the 7th tradition, which states we are fully self-supporting.
Yep.
We have passed the basket.
Absolutely.
And that 7th tradition, when you hear that, is every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Right? Mm-hmm. So that would be like if someone comes and says, hey, we'll give you, I don't know, $20,000, but we won't take it. Okay? Because we don't do that kind of stuff for starters. But then if we did take it, they may start wanting to call the shots, and that gets in the way of recovery.
Sure.
So that's a simple one, right? But that is why we pass the basket. There's not any money to be made, really. It just keeps the doors open, the coffee bought, the sugar, and
Chips.
yeah, the bathroom's clean, chips, books. Well, books a lot of times we sell, you know, but it does pay for a lot of literature and stuff. So, Larry, thank you for coming by. Judy, as always, thank you. Glad to see you. Matt, thank you for stopping by.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it.
I want to remind everyone we do have an email address. It is bangbossier, Bossier, @gmail.com. That's bangbossier@gmail.com. And our phone number is area code 817-988-2530. You can call and you can leave a voicemail. And I have purchased the domain name grouchandbrainstorm.com. We own it. So it is ours. Nice. And I have a web service that you build a website with. and you take the two and you put them together, and you have the Grouch and the Brainstorm website where we can hopefully post links to our latest episode, put news, pictures, and all that good stuff.
Oh,
right?
that would be cool.
Of whatever we decide. I just got to find someone who can put all that together on that website, because I know nothing about building a website and I don't have that kind of time. But I'll end up making the time if I have a chance.
So if you do out there, call Mike.
Yeah, or call Matt.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about a website either.
or call the voicemail line.
Yeah.
I think we got one more country in there under our. Let's see. We got. Let me see. Let me look at this. I think we got Mexico added to our. We did. We got Mexico added to our. So all the countries we normally have, and then we got Mexico. And I don't know if that's because I was in Mexico and clicked on our website or on our thing, or if it was because someone from Mexico now listens to it.
I don't know.
You went to Mexico?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Every once in a while,
Speaking of going to jail.
Well, yeah. You ain't getting out of that one. Good luck. Can't even find an ATM machine. But I don't know. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll have some more countries soon and some more listeners. So anyway, we're hit our hour mark, so we're right on time. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next week from Bossier City, Louisiana. This has been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.